Hello everybody! So today I'm going to address a couple of the questions I've been getting about my rotary tool and how I've kept it alive for so long. So this is just an Ozito. It's really cheap. It's 50 Australian dollars, so I don't know, in the US you can probably pick these up for like 30 bucks at your hardware store if they sell them. And I don't know, it's a pretty basic model. It's got this little hanger and I just hang it up. I've shown it in a few of my videos where it's fully set up. So yeah, it just hangs up and pretty much the setting of it, straight to 1, the lowest possible speed possible, which here is 8,000 revs per minute, and it goes all the way up to 35. But for Opal, I've never taken it to max speed. I boost it up a little bit if I'm polishing with the cerium oxide on felt, but not very much. So typically sitting at about 8,000, lower than that because that's a unloaded kind of weight. And the flex shaft probably slows it down a little bit as well. The motor has to work pretty hard to spin all of that. And yeah, this is basically the configuration I used in all the time. I never don't use the flex shaft. Ever since I've installed it, I installed this once when I first got it, and the flex shaft's been installed ever since. It basically just hooks in. Actually, I might as well show it here if I can get it out. Yeah. So you've got the same setup as what you do at this end of the flex shaft. And you're basically just putting a cable in there, and this just covers it so you don't get anything caught in it. And that's really it for a flex shaft, and then you're just spinning that long cable all the way down to the other end. So I will say the only thing to keep an eye out on is hanging it up's a really good idea, just because this will vibrate a lot, but also you need to keep these air intakes as clear as possible. Don't let anything get in there, no water, no dust, anything like that. You just gotta keep it out of the way. This one's got 2 brushes, top and bottom. You don't need to check on them or anything. Eventually they will die out and wear down, but you can swap them out. I don't think I'd bother with a $50 rotary tool. By the time you get the brushes, you might as well just buy another one. I've got to get a backup just in case this one goes down and I can't record anything for the channel, so I've got to think about that. But we'll try to get more equipment anyway, and then maybe this won't get used so much. But yeah, this has been used every day for, I don't know, over 3 years. So it's been going quite a while. The collet size here is a 1.5 to 3.2 millimeter. I'm pretty sure that the size here and the size here is exactly the same. So those same measurements apply up here. And if I get the pieces, you'll see that for all the time that I was using these diamond bits, these actually have quite a large mandrel size as opposed to Novas and everything else. So yeah, you can see here the difference between the 2 different sized bits that I typically put in. So everything apart from these diamond coated bits are all this smaller size. I do have to change the end a fair bit, and to do that it's pretty simple. And this is where a lot of people go wrong, because I've had a lot of people tell me that they've stripped theirs. That's not even locked in. So all we're changing whenever we're changing these bit sizes are these. So I've got this one sitting here and this one here. So you can see there's the larger one and then there's the smaller one. So pretty basic. The trouble comes in when you're tightening and loosening, so we'll just grab the smaller one. We'll quickly chuck just a random bit in there. Now, the flex shaft is always spinning in one direction. That's the major drawback for these kind of rotary tools. It's always spinning in one direction. So here we go on following that arrow. Now that's a problem every now and then, just because sometimes you do want it spinning the other way, and if you're left-handed I'd be really annoyed with the fact that it's spinning in that direction. But one thing it does allow you to do is not to over tighten this, because you're spinning against this anyway, so even if there is a little bit of friction, this isn't going to undo. And all I do is the max strength of trying to put this together is literally just that. So with one finger I can tighten that enough not to move when I'm rubbing Opal. And you can see if you look at the top here, I'll zoom in again, you can see here where the spanner goes on either side. I am slowly wearing and rounding that edge off, but that's from thousands of bit changes. It's this part in here that you really want to protect. So this here, if you start over tightening and everything, you'll start to damage a lot of this, or a lot of the thread inside the bit. So you've got to avoid that at all costs. And you really don't need it that tight. You don't need to go in there like Arnold Schwarzenegger and just twist the hell out of this thing. It really is just one finger can tighten it enough. It's just a small tweak, and that's it. That is on well enough. Like, I can really force it to, see there I'm rotating it around just slightly. So it's not any tighter than that, and I've never had a bit slip out on me or anything like that. The only time I get a little bit worried about having it in too loose is when I'm using this one, the cutting disc. So when I've got the cutting disc, I do get a little bit worried about it. Of course, this is the wrong size. I do get a little bit worried about it, but even in that case, it just makes me gentler on the bit and everything survives quite well. I've never had that bit come out either. Just to do that, tighten this one in. I don't typically put them all the way in. Put it out to there. And it's literally just this is applying enough pressure for that to be pinched in and you're good to go. So just be careful with over tightening. It damages the threads, it damages the, I think these are called the, you don't want to make these start getting wider than what they need to, or crush them in either. And you don't want to break the thread, or this is a pretty thin piece, so it can actually just split as well, so you don't want to split any of that. But yeah, that's literally it. Some people have issues with their flex shaft, the shaft itself. So if this starts heating up a lot, now I haven't had this problem with this one, but I've had a lot of other people have the same problem, and they just use a little bit of silicone grease along the inside of the flex shaft. So if I take this off again, just along this. So there's a bit of friction between this and the outer wall of the flex shaft. And in those cases, you just want to grease that up a little bit, not too much because you don't want to make a mess. And that should fix those issues. But if you can get away without it, I'd say don't bother. All in all, that's how I look after this thing. Just keep it clean, keep it tidy, don't be rough with it. And if you do have any problems with it, just get onto it quickly, and typically you won't do any permanent damage at all unless you've really chewed out your motor, burnt it up, or you've got issues with your brushes. And if you've got a cheap version like mine, you just basically get rid of it and buy a new one, which is what I'll probably do at some stage, because this thing surely can't last forever at 50 bucks. 50 Aussie dollars is not a lot of money for something that's done so much work. So when it gets put to bed permanently, I will have a ceremony, probably on the channel. I don't know, put it in the cardboard box and bury it in the backyard or something. Flush it down the toilet. I think that's what you do with pets. So yeah, I thought I'd just cover some of those points, just because a lot of people have been asking me lately. So hopefully you can keep your flex shaft alive as long as I've kept mine alive. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video, where I will be carving the winner of the viewer vote, which I've got to say has got to be this number 4. Number 4, it's got a lot of red in it. It does have 1 or 2 cracks, but we'll get into that in that video. I'm a little bit worried about it, but it could be a high risk, high reward kind of piece. So stay tuned for that, it'll be coming up, and I'll see you in that video.